This is the halftime show with Umar Ardori on Pulse 95.
Sure is that time. And that time is the halftime show with Umar Ardori on Pulse 95 Radio. Shout out to everyone who's tuned in around the world, whether it's 95 FM, pulse95radio.com, our app, Sharjah Broadcasting Authority, or if you're chilling at home, watching us live on YouTube. Thank you very much for connecting with me on the hour. And boy, do I have a treat for you. It is Ramadan, but I got a big treat for you because Farah Gad is on the show today, a holistic nutrition coach. But you know what? Enough with labels. Let her do the talking. And when she comes on the show, she'll be telling you all about the different things that she specializes in, including education, learning, teaching, coaching. God, we could be here all day. And that's just the intro. By the way, on today's show, we're talking about benefits of fasting. How do we make the most of that? How do we clean the body and the mind? Sleep. Oh boy, something I'm not getting enough of. We're talking about sleep as well. And let me just leave you with this. The body is a battery. How do we get energy? And why is energy so important? So while you guys ponder on that, I'm going to play you a tune, Afrobeat, T-Pain, Condom. When we get back, she's going to be on the show.
This is the halftime show with Umar Ardori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the halftime show with Umar Ardori. I'm your host, cover everything sport, international and local. Special guest in the show today, Farah Gad. Farah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I am honored to be here.
Oh, the honor's all mine. And it's almost like the perfect time to have you here because of Ramadan, because of the amazing things that you do and the way you teach and heal people. I think it's fantastic. I'm going to pick your brain across this hour, okay?
Go for it.
Okay. What I want you to do is I want you to firstly start with telling me the benefits of fasting.
All right. Okay. There are so many. I don't think people realize just how beneficial it can be. Let's start off with, detoxing the body.
Yeah.
When we are constantly snacking and eating and, we're taking in all these calories and we're eating all these foods that have a bunch of chemicals and toxins, and if we don't give our body enough time to get rid of them, they start to build up in the body. And then what happens is the liver, it has enough. There's only so much it can do because we are constantly being bombarded by environmental chemicals and chemicals from our food. And so when we give our body time to just be and to regenerate and to detox, that's exactly what happens when we fast. That can be, even just intermittent fasting or fasting during Ramadan or any form of fasting is incredibly beneficial to the body.
Because a lot of people, when it comes down to this time of the year, they're like, oh, it's going to be hard. But when you actually flip it like that and talk about the benefits of it, all of a sudden it makes the fasting a lot more easier because you've changed your mindset.
Absolutely.
How important is shifting your mindset to be able to adapt to fasting?
It is crucial for sure,
Yeah.
because it can get tough. But when you realize, the health benefits as well, you see it from a different perspective and you will feel the benefits. You will feel a lot lighter, your mental clarity will become a lot better, cognition improves, you'll notice that you're maybe even sleeping better because you're not, like I said, constantly snacking, constantly eating. Your body actually has a chance to finally, regenerate, improve your cell function, all these different things that improve our overall health.
Absolutely. And the other thing, which again you brought in there, was when people do end up changing their mindset and getting their mind ready for the fast, there's people that always tell us that they think with their mind or they think with their gut, but the gut is the second brain. So how do you manage the gut?
In what sense?
In the sense of how you perceive things, how you tackle the month of Ramadan, for example. How do you get your gut to kind of be on the same side as you?
Okay, I would say focus on the type of foods that you're eating because, like you said, the gut is kind of like the second brain. And so that means that what we eat directly affects our mood, our mental health, our mindset, our cognitive function. So when you choose to eat foods that actually fuel you and, bring nutrients and vitamins and minerals into your body, that will change the way you feel, the way your mental health is. And that's something that not a lot of people realize is when they have things like, anxiety or low mood or depression or whatever you want to call it, that can directly be because of the foods that you're choosing to eat every single day.
That's got me thinking now. So can we associate the certain type of foods to happy hormones or getting us to feel happier?
Absolutely.
Tell me about those.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we know that serotonin, which is your happy hormone, up to 90% of that is produced in the gut, okay? And we need a lot of, the beneficial gut bacteria. We have this thing called the gut microbiome, which basically just means we got a bunch of good, bacteria in there. We have a couple of the bad ones, but we don't want the bad ones to override the good ones. And that's why it is so important to focus on foods that will support your gut. So things like, probiotic and prebiotic rich foods. Prebiotic just means it's the food for the bacteria, okay? That's all it is. So things like, onions are a good source of prebiotics. Apple cider vinegar is a good source of prebiotics. So we want to keep building and building that gut microbiome so that your body has the ability to produce enough of the serotonin levels. Yeah, which is going to directly affect your mood.
Love that. Yo, we're getting ready. We're getting ready. Okay, we talked about the things that are good for the gut. What things should we be avoiding to avoid that feeling of being lethargic in Ramadan?
Okay, I would say, most importantly, how are we breaking our fast to begin with? We want to avoid as much as possible a massive blood sugar spike, okay? Because that's what's going to give us that crash, and then we're going to feel just lethargic throughout the rest of the evening, going into the following day as well. So we want to make sure that we are pairing fats with protein, and this is going to optimize our blood sugar levels. If we just have, a handful of dates to start off with, and then we go and have, the carbs, the typical foods that we do eat during Ramadan, and then, finishing off with some nice kunafa or whatever, that is just going to spike our blood sugar levels. So what you want to do is, if you do want to break your fast with dates, then add some nuts to that, because that is a good source of healthy fats. So that's going to help minimize that blood sugar spike. And then when you are having your iftar, you want to make sure that you're focusing on protein, whatever that, what source of protein you want, that's okay. But just make sure you're having protein and a good source of healthy fat. Healthy fat can be olive oil, it can be avocado. Just have some of that on the side and make sure you're eating it. And then you can go and, enjoy the foods that we love to enjoy with our families during Ramadan. But optimize breaking the fast with the protein and the healthy fats. And minerals. Minerals is key, because when we drink water, especially here in the UAE, I'd say most of us, we drink the plastic bottled water, right? And that means that it is filtered water. Filtered water means most of the minerals have been filtered out. Now, for actual proper hydration, we need minerals. So you can be drinking all this water, you can be having 4 Masafi bottles and, drinking all night, but that is actually going to dehydrate you further. Because what happens is our cells are not able to pull that water in, which is crucial for proper cellular hydration. I'm not going to get too scientific with this.
I love it. You keep going.
We need a bunch of minerals, magnesium, calcium, potassium, all these different minerals to hydrate on a cellular level. So what you can do, and this is a very simple, hack, because everyone has sea salt at home, most likely. And if not, you can just go out into your store and buy some. I prefer Celtic sea salt or pink Himalayan salt from a good quality source. So what you do is you grab just a pinch of that. That's, about 1/4 a teaspoon. Put that into your, your big glass of water and drink that. And that's hydration right there, because you have the minerals. Don't be drinking, tons and tons and tons of plastic bottled water. You will just feel lethargic and you'll be running to the bathroom all night. So add those minerals in. This is key. I have told this to so many people, and they've come back to me and told me that this is the first Ramadan that they're not thirsty.
Right.
And I'm like, well, there you go.
Yeah.
You're fueling your body.
Fantastic. Guys, how good was that first episode? Thank you very much. Okay. We're going to be right back after this break. That was just the first segment on the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Umar Ardori on Pulse 95.
Sure is that time, and we're having a good time here on the Halftime Show on Pulse 95 Radio. Couple of special shout outs around the world who are tuned in to our fantastic show. Adil, Tariq, Umda, Marty Licious. I mean, you definitely win the name. Marty Licious, Aisha, my sister-in-law, my beautiful sister-in-law who's tuned in from the US. Shahata is here as well. Agazi is here. Hani, Rizwan, M1, Murad, Veena, Subi, Fatima, my mum, of course. the best. Majid as well. And have I missed anyone? Fuad. And Hiba, of course. Wisdom Wednesday Hiba. Yeah, thank you very much for connecting. Right, let's dive into it. Farah, we touched the surface on segment 1.
Yeah.
We gave them a little bit of a sprinkle. But something we want to dive into, which I want to ask you about, is sleep. Because I know that my sleep is awful. I'm not going to lie. I need to work on my sleep.
I've heard this a lot before.
Yeah, I know you have. And it's something I picked up on your post. And by the way, we're going to put your social media handle at the end of the segment so you can make sure they follow you. One of the things I saw on there was you post something saying, not all sleep is equal.
Absolutely. Oh gosh, I could talk so much about this, but let me give you the highlights.
Yes.
So, that is true. If we look at when people typically go to sleep, it's usually from about 12 midnight, 1 a.m., let's say 8 hours from there. Now, there is a huge difference between sleeping from, let's say, the hours of 12 midnight till about 8 a.m. compared to sleeping at 10 p.m. till, let's say, 6, 7 a.m. There is a huge difference. This is because our body does most of its powerful healing and repairing in the hours before midnight. So if you're missing that, that's huge. But not only that, our liver is most active between the hours of 1 to 3 a.m., which means you have to already be in a deep sleep by about, I'd say, 11 p.m. to get that, that really deep sleep by 1 a.m. So again, if you're missing that, you're missing your liver's ability to do some very, very important detoxing. And like I mentioned before, nowadays, our liver, it is struggling a little bit with all the environmental toxins and then the food and the chemicals and all that we're bombarding our body with. So we really need to give it the time it needs to be able to detox. And so if you want to feel your best, you do need enough sleep, that's for sure. I would say 8 to 9 hours. 6 hours, by the way, is not enough. People always tell me, I feel good, I'm fine, I'm sleeping 5 to 6 hours, but I still feel great. No, it's not enough for an adult. It is not. We need at least, I'd say, 7 to 8, even 9 hours sometimes.
Wow.
So getting to sleep earlier is a lot more important, and for another reason too, because we have this thing called leptin, which is a hormone. It's a circadian hormone. Now, all you need to know about leptin is that it basically affects your appetite and your weight, your excess fat on the body. And a lot of people come to me and they say, I can't lose weight. I'm doing everything. I'm eating clean. I'm exercising. This might be the missing factor, because the leptin hormone, basically, it does what it needs to do typically at midnight, yeah? So if you're missing that sleep and you're not in a deep sleep by then, leptin does not do its job, which means you wake up the next day and your appetite is thrown off, you're snacking, you're craving sugar, your body does not get the signal that, okay, there is X amount of excess fat, let's start to shed that off. So it's this continuous cycle over and over again, and then people wonder, why can't I shed those extra few pounds off? It's probably because of that if you're doing everything else.
I need to ask you about that. When you were talking about like the body clock and how the liver plays its role, how all these things, what if the hours are different? So in terms of each individual, so if someone starts earlier or works out later, does that affect the body as well? Is it vary person to person?
I would say it's not really person to person. It's more to do with the 24-hour clock, because we have something called our circadian rhythm, which is our body's internal clock, okay? Now, our organs function best at certain times of the day, but not only that, we are beings of light, which means that everything that our body does, all the functions in our body, is driven by light, the circadian rhythm, okay? So let's just give a quick example. At night, when our body perceives that it's nighttime through our eyes, through the darkness, it tells our body to, start producing melatonin, which is your sleep hormone. Now, if you're bombarded by light, bright lights, your phone, your TV, you got these LED lights at home, your body does not get the signal that it's night now and, it's time to go to bed. And that's why a lot of people have insomnia. So it does. It makes a huge difference how you're living your life in terms of the hours. We want to be living as close to how our ancestors lived back in the day, which is getting up at around the time of sunrise and viewing that sunlight into our eyes, and then, start winding down as the sun sets. And then a couple of hours later, you want to be in a deep sleep.
You sparking off light bulbs in my head. You talked about light, and then sometimes we have too much of the wrong light, and sometimes we're also deficient in other things. You know where I'm going with this one.
My favorite topic.
Yes. Talk to me about the deficiency in light and also vitamin D and the vitamins that we don't get enough of, despite us living in an amazing country like the UAE.
Absolutely. Okay, this is definitely my favorite topic.
Yeah.
So I'm about to get very passionate about
Let's
this.
Let's go.
So, like I said before, we are beings of light, and I don't think enough people realize how important sun exposure is, because our bodies get signals from the sun to do certain things. Now, that doesn't mean that it has to be a bright, sunny day, like we get here in the UAE. It doesn't matter. It needs light exposure into the eyes, which then signals to the hypothalamus in the brain to do certain things, to release certain hormones, to suppress certain hormones, everything that makes our body function optimally. Now, if we're not getting those signals, it throws off everything in the body, and this is when we start to see, insomnia, and we start to see mood issues. But in relation to vitamin D, this is crucial. We could supplement with a vitamin D supplement, but that is not going to cut it, okay? We need it naturally from the sun. And not only that, we actually need, this may be going a little bit off topic, but I really want to say it, we need enough magnesium. And this is something that most people are lacking in today, because our soils are so depleted of magnesium. But not only that, when we stress, our levels deplete. When we're eating junk food, when we're taking medications, Panadols, different types of things, statins, that depletes our magnesium levels. And now for vitamin D to actually activate into its active form, and for you to utilize that, you need magnesium. And then that comes into the whole importance of, make sure you're eating well as well. And, there's so much that I could say about this.
Dropping bombs. The knowledge, we're dropping bombs, right? Okay. You know what? I'm going to ask her something offline. So if you're tuned in on my Instagram live, you'll be able to see it at Umar Ardori. I want to ask her that offline as soon as we take a break now, and we'll be right back. We're going to play you some Ma Muhim, Maz Maz. This is a tune. Here we go.
This is the halftime show with Umar Ardori on Pulse 95.
Sure is that time. And as you heard, Level Up, my new show, is out every day in Ramadan, 10 p.m. with some fantastic people. And speaking about fantastic people, Farah Gad is in their building. What's going on, Farah?
Oh man, I am enjoying this so much.
I can't believe it's your first time on radio.
Yeah, first time ever.
I love it so far. I was getting in line. I was worried. I'm like, she's going to say no. She's gonna say
I was honored.
Yeah, no, that honor is all mine. We were talking before the break about sleep and the importance of sleep.
Yeah.
And there's much more in that.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to me. Tell me.
All right. Okay. You guys got to get ready for this, because this is big stuff.
Yeah.
So, one of the most important things that you can do for your sleep actually starts in the morning. What do I mean by that? Okay, so when we wake up, the first thing that we want to do is expose our eyes to natural light, sunlight outside. Because when we do that, it signals to our body, first of all, that it's morning. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, can't we just switch on the lights in the house? And, what if we go on our phone? That is the opposite of what you want to be doing, because that will spike your cortisol levels too high. Now, cortisol is fine, but we don't want it to be too high, because that affects our appetite, our blood sugar regulation, our mood. So when we expose our eyes naturally to the sun, first thing in the morning, you will get a natural rise in cortisol. But not only that, you will have this conversion happening. So we have a lot of tryptophan, which is basically just a neurotransmitter that makes you feel, groggy, sleepy. You have a lot of that in the morning, which is why when we wake up, we're not alert straight away. So we want this conversion of tryptophan to serotonin, which is your happy hormone, makes you feel good and focused throughout the day. Now, that conversion needs light from the sun into the eyes, which sends a signal to the brain to do its job. Now, keep in mind that serotonin is the precursor to melatonin, which is your sleep hormone. So if you're missing that morning sun exposure, then you are not really getting that conversion, which means at night, when it's time to go to sleep, you most likely are not going to have enough melatonin to put you to sleep. Now, not only that, at night, if you are staring at your phone, you're on your laptop, that is suppressing the melatonin levels, which affects your sleep. But not only that, melatonin is a very, very potent antioxidant. It is super important for the body. So I'm not going to get into the science behind it because I could go on and on. But what you need to know is that morning sun exposure is absolutely key to everything, to a healthy lifestyle, to having enough of that feel-good neurotransmitter and to sleep well at night. So you don't want to be missing out on that.
It was interesting when you were talking about that. And I'm very intrigued now, what does a normal morning look like for you?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I try to wake up with the sunrise because the sunrise has a different type of light than, let's say, at 10, 11 a.m. Sunrise has a lot of infrared and red light, and that is very healing to the body because it is able to pierce through the body's tissues, and it has a lot of healing properties, which is why nowadays you see these infrared, light saunas, and you see the infrared light devices.
What's your take on those?
I think they are extremely powerful, but they don't replace sun. No, definitely not. But they are powerful, and I have seen incredible, things with the infrared light devices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't replace the natural sun. And so back to my morning.
Yeah, so you wake up
I wake up and I try to wake up with sunrise. And the first thing I do not go on my phone. I do not switch on any lights. I try to avoid. I go around my house hoping there are no lights on, covering my eyes. I step outside and I let the sun enter my eyes. And then within 30 to 60 minutes of waking up, you want to have breakfast. Now, this is a very controversial topic because there's half of the population who says, breakfast is not important. You don't need to have it. And there's the other half that says breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Now, when we look at it from a circadian rhythm perspective, that's again your body's internal clock. It is crucial because we want to have, like I said, we want to have the cortisol levels balanced. We don't want to have a spike. So if you wake up and then you look at your phone and then you have coffee and then you don't eat, or you eat like 2 hours later, that is going to spike your cortisol. That's going to spike your blood sugar levels. You are going to feel horrible throughout the day, most likely.
So that almost sets you up for the day.
Oh, that sets you up for the day. It sets you up to be focused. It sets you up to feel good. And then at night, it helps you sleep well.
Yeah. And how important, so how much time would you be in the sun before you?
Oh, it can be even just a couple of minutes. Like that's it. Ideally, if it's a sunny place like the UAE, 5 to 10 minutes is perfect.
Yeah.
If it's cloudy, it's a bit hazy, preferably 15 to 20 minutes.
Right.
If you can do more, that's amazing. But
Right.
even a couple of minutes just for your eyes to get that signal
Yeah.
that it is morning, and specifically what time of morning it is, that's key. So even just 2-3 minutes, and this is a game changer. I am telling you guys.
Yeah, yes. Oh, man. Okay, now you got me thinking. That's something I definitely don't do, which now I'll be very, very conscious of. Energy is massive. Frequency is massive.
Oh, yeah. My favorite topic
She's
again.
like, oh, yeah. If the body, I saw this post as well, the body is a battery.
Yes.
By the way, her posts are on point. So make sure you check them out. I'll tell you about her profile on the final segment as well. Tell me more about that metaphor of the body is a battery.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, the way we get energy, people typically think it's only through food, right? You eat, you get energy, and that's it. That is actually only 1/3 of the way that we are supposed to get energy. Okay, so that probably makes you wonder, well, what about the rest? How do we get energy?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I would say about 90% of people only use that as their main source of energy, which is going to leave you feeling quite lethargic, especially if you're not eating the right foods. Now, the other ways is through sunlight. See how that keeps coming up.
Yeah.
So sunlight, and I will explain why in just a little bit. But so there's sunlight. There's something called grounding or earthing, some like to say. That is just literally putting your feet on the earth's surface. So walking on grass, on sand, being in the ocean. That is called grounding. So what happens when we do that? Basically, for our body to function optimally and to have energy, we require electrons, and we gather these electrons through food. But the reason we get it through food is because, again, of sunlight. Food the plants or the animals that are eating the plants, they are gathering those electrons from the sun exposure. And then we eat that food. So that is light again. And then when we ground on the earth, we are absorbing those electrons from the earth's negative charge. That gives us energy. Movement is another way we gather electrons into the body. So, if you're only focusing on food, then you're missing out on a lot, especially if you're missing out on that sun exposure, because that is powerful.
Man. All right. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to play this track for you now. It's called Sunshine Over Stress by Shaka. Perfect timing. I did mean it. And we'll be right back after this.
This is the Halftime Show with Umar Ardori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. And you know what? It's such a good time to be in the studio today on Pulse 95 Radio. And if you do miss the show, don't worry, catch all of our episodes on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, if you like a podcast, or if you'd rather see the guest herself, head over to our YouTube channel, Pulse 95 Radio, and she's there. And guess what? It's her first appearance as well, which is great. Farah, thank you very much for being fantastic on the show.
Oh, thank you.
It's been great. And your development and your willingness to continue to grow and learn is fascinating, because when I spoke to you about getting you on the show, you were saying that you were studying.
Yeah.
Talk to me a bit more about that.
Yeah.
Especially after, mashallah, everything you've done so far.
Yeah.
You've got exams coming up.
I do at the end of the month, and
For?
I'm dying.
Yeah. For what? Tell us what you're doing.
So I am studying naturopathic medicine and nutrition with the College of Naturopathic Medicine in London. I honestly, I can't get enough of this, this whole field of natural medicine and holistic health. And there's so much. Every time I learn more, it's kind of this feeling of, oh my God, I don't know anything. Like, there's so much to learn. And honestly, I don't think it'll ever stop for me. It doesn't mean that I'm going to always be, in university and courses, but I will always continue studying. There's so much to learn. And I love, how do I say it? I love helping people. Yeah, no, not that. I love, helping people, but I love educating them. And that's a huge passion of mine. Like, if you follow me on Instagram, I this is not a shout out to myself or anything.
Coming. That's my job.
But I post just purely because I want people to know, this field has changed my life entirely. I suffered a lot from health issues, everything you could possibly think of, I went through. I had the gut issues, I had the hormone imbalances, the thyroid issues, the weight gain, all that stuff. But natural medicine and, focusing on all these things that I've spoken about, circadian rhythm health, gut health, changed my life. So I just want everyone who's suffering to know that, you can change that. You are not stuck with your diagnosis. You are not your diagnosis. Period.
Excellent. Speaking about that, where can we follow you?
Where can we follow?
Yeah.
Instagram. So it is at Farah Gad _.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And best of luck with your exams as well, by the way.
Thank you. I need it.
You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. And what's the next challenge? I mean, you seem like someone that keeps facing different things, setting different things up for yourself. What's the next challenge for you?
Next challenge. Okay, that's interesting because I just came up with it last night.
Okay, exclusive. We've got an exclusive coming up on the show, people.
So my next challenge is to take on the whole field of trauma and emotional release. Okay. Wow. Now that is something I've realized is a huge thing, because we can be doing all these things to improve our health, which are important. Don't get me wrong. Everything I've spoken about is important. But if you have suppressed trauma or, a lot of emotions that you have not come to terms with or released, you can be doing everything, but you're not going to probably see the results that you want. Okay. And that's a huge thing to take in for a lot of people. But I personally just 3 days ago experienced it for myself. I did an emotional release session with someone in the States, and it was a virtual session, but I can honestly say it changed my life, and that was overnight. So I want to take on, we spoke about this before, and I said I don't have a specific niche that I focus on, because I think everyone is so different and everyone has their own individual issues, and sometimes we need to tackle it from 5 different aspects, from 10 different aspects. But I think emotions and trauma is a huge one. So that is my next
exclusive.
Yeah.
And you heard it here first. on Pulse 95 Radio. Your first episode done.
Yeah.
One of many.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you did great.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to be here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you guys very much also for tuning in. The prayer's coming up. But saying that as well, we've been very, very, very fortunate to have her here in the studio today. She's been absolutely outstanding. And remember, you can catch the YouTube episode, which will be up on Pulse 95 Radio very soon with Farah Gad. Thank you very much. Take care, guys.
If you liked this episode of The Halftime Show, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories. Pulse